Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the first episode of the Lights, Camera, Grow podcast. My name is Jared. In this episode, we cover Video Marketing 101. We talk about the strategy, the why, the where, the how, and everything in between. If you guys are really interested, make sure you stick around for the entire series. It's going to be an 8-part series that we're going to talk about and deep dive into this. I really hope you guys enjoy the series. Make sure you subscribe to us on social at Run with Tobe, and you can subscribe to the Lights, Camera, Grow podcast from Apple, Spotify, Google, or anywhere you find a podcast. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the first episode of the Lights, Camera, Grow podcast. My name is Jared. I'm the host, along here with my co-host, Andrew. For those of you who don't know Tobe Agency or our previous podcast, this is our second installment. We're starting a whole new podcast. Thank you guys. If you have been here before, thank you for resubscribing and checking it out. We sincerely appreciate it, but we're glad to be back on the ball and in motion here for 2019. So yeah, before we get started, I just want to give you guys kind of like an overview of what to expect on this podcast and kind of who Tobe Agency is. So Andrew, who is Tobe Agency in 2019?
So who are we?
It's kind of changed, right? A little bit since last year.
Like question.
Yeah.
So we're a growth marketing agency. We're also a creative content agency. We are a HubSpot certified partner. So we work very closely on the HubSpot technology platform. So there's basically two components to our business. There's the growth marketing side, which is all about using content to drive more visits, more leads, and ultimately more customers. We've actually added on another component to that, which is now tacking on the sales side to marketing.
Yep.
So in this series of the podcast, we're actually going to be talking a lot about sales and how marketing and sales kind of interact and
Yep.
how they align together. A big reason why we decided to add that service is because we're really looking to complete this sort of life cycle of a customer.
Yep.
Right? And
I think it's called the flywheel these days.
The flywheel,
right?
yep. And we're going to talk about that in some of the
Cool.
upcoming episodes. But also on the creative content side, which is what you focus on, we made a really big investment in two particular creative formats of content, right? One is audio, what we're doing here today,
Yep.
and on video. And the second is branded company type video, right? So we think that the future of content really lies within video and audio, and that's where we've really built our agency around on the creative side. And we kind of use this term. It's great marketing is about combining the art of content creation with the science of growth marketing. And what you're going to see in the podcast in this series over the next 8 episodes, is how all that comes together from a sales, from a marketing, and a content standpoint. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what we do, and what we're going to, I guess, a little bit of what we're going to be talking about during this series, right?
Yep. So basically what you guys can expect is over the next 8 episodes, like Andrew just outlined, we're going to dive into a really deep dive into what video marketing is all about and what sales enablement is all about. And I know we're going to probably throw around a couple different words around, what to kind of coin those terms. But basically what Andrew just outlined, it's going to be all about how to use video for your marketing and also how to use video for your sales team. And this podcast is a little bit different than our old format. If any of you guys tuned into the Run with Tobe podcast, it was a little bit more loose, a little bit more open format. We did a lot of different types of interviews, but it always went back to marketing, of course. This one's going to be super focused on those two particular topics, at least in season 1. And then we'll see where season 2 and 3 and so on go from there. But yeah, I just wanted to give that outline for everybody to kind of know what to expect over the next 4 to 8 episodes, I guess.
Yeah, and actually one extra thing to maybe put in there is we decided to come back with this new format because we've learned a lot from our previous content strategy, right? Yep. And even as an agency as ourselves, I do consider us experts in content marketing. It always is good to go back to the drawing board. So for those of you who are out there who actually had been listening to the podcast and we went on a little bit of a hiatus in October, we decided to take a break to just rethink everything, to blow it up, to look at the strategy, to really think through how does the content we're producing align with the type of customers that we're trying to get. And so, in fact, you're going to find that if you're out there and you want to learn more about video marketing and sales, right? There's a lot of new knowledge to be picked up in here that's now much more focused. So hang on to us for the next episode. I think we've got a lot of value to add.
Yeah, we're going to have some guests, so it's not going to just be me and you rambling like we are right now. We do have some guests lined up.
Wait, I thought podcasts were all about people rambling.
That is true. Our first guest is going to be on episode 4, and it's a couple guys that are actually inside of HubSpot. They work actively inside of HubSpot. They're really knowledgeable. They've helped us along our journey, through HubSpot, but also just in general to kind of wrap our head around this video growth marketing strategy. So yeah, really excited for this season of the podcast. Let's go ahead and kick it off. So this is episode 1 of Lights, Camera, Grow, and we really want to just deep dive into what video marketing 101 basics are really about. So let's go ahead and talk about that first. Just open it up with that. So what are video marketing 101 things to you?
So understanding that you need a video strategy. That's probably
point number 1.
Is that you need I think that you need to think through like, okay, look, video it's an investment, and we're going to talk about time versus money.
Right.
It can be a very large time investment and potentially a low money investment, or it could be let's just say a lower time investment and a higher money investment.
A much higher investment on the money side.
But I think you should think through like what type of investment you want to make into video marketing and how that's going to link into your strategy. But really understand why are you getting into it in the first place.
Yeah, I think there's a good. You need to know why you even want to use video. Aside from the obvious that video is the fastest growing. Well, okay, podcasting is technically the fastest growing, but video is the fastest growing piece of media that people can access. Right. Talking about smartphones, tablets, all the OTA streaming devices now. So video is a good or better part. Probably 99% in our lives every day. Right?
Let's just see how like things have evolved, right? Like first we always had text that followed us around in our pocket, right? Then we had audio that always followed us around in our pocket. And now because of compression technology, the modern smartphone and 4G LTE.
Right, and higher 5G. Right.
And 5G coming up now, right? Like you can stream video as if you would from your TV straight to your phone. So if you're going to have an option to read or watch or listen, what are you going to choose? Right. Well, we have no attention anymore these days. Right. So, well,
as a business, when you're looking into your video strategy, I think a big part that people now are kind of catching on to, but may have missed in the past is people really want to see who's behind the scenes, right? You always used to go to the company page and you'd look for a picture, like who is the CEO or the person that I'm looking for that I may be in contact with at that business. But a big part of it is now people want to see who the people are behind the scenes. So I think video storytelling, on the quote unquote about us video is the best way to kind of show that.
And it's a lot easier to tell your story on video.
Yeah, absolutely.
Versus, like,
you can convey
crackpot copywriter to
Right.
No, I agree. I think the other thing too is like when you're thinking about a video strategy is you got to remember where do you distribute your content?
Right. That's a huge
eyeballs
thing.
On it, right? But if you think about it, actually, if you don't have video, you can't be on YouTube.
Right.
And YouTube is the second largest search engine.
I would even argue to say you can't be on most social channels these days, which would include things like Twitter, LinkedIn. Obviously LinkedIn you can still write a ton of copy and people are going to read your article. But video on LinkedIn is capturing quite an audience these days. Don't even think about things like Instagram or Snapchat if you're not going to use video.
And actually, I'll give some stats here. So if I put up on my LinkedIn profile, if I put up just like a regular post with just image and text, maybe get a few hundred views of it. But when I post a video, it organically gets a few thousand views. Right. So that's just a very simple A/B test. Right. Do you know what I mean?
And that's also the platform pushing video a lot more too, right? So
and that's the general rule for all the platforms now, right?
Exactly.
They're all trying to push video. So I think like being in front of people everywhere because they have their smartphone everywhere, being able to search, being able to index as a piece of content on a big search engine like YouTube, and just being able to tell your story better. I mean, those are like 3 like big reasons why you got to do video.
Yeah, and I would even say, and this is something that we deep dive into a lot internally, and we did actually talk about this on our last podcast series, is the idea of pillar content.
Yep.
You know, and we're still in the why part of this, but when you create this video, we call it quote unquote pillar content, it just becomes that much easier to chop that up and distribute it across multiple platforms and have a longer, greener piece of content to use.
Yep. So let me ask you, and this is the challenge for me as not being a production or like on the creative side of the house, but like, how do you make videos?
Well,
how do you make videos to do all those things?
That's the $1 million question. So right now we're sitting in a nice setup. We have a pretty nice camera, lighting, microphone. You know, we have some nice tools at our disposal, but that may not always be the case. And actually, we're going to get into some of the real nuts and bolts of how to create a video and more of the like production side in episode 2, I believe.
Yep.
So we'll save the deep dive into that, but. I mean, really, it just takes a smartphone, right? Your iPhone camera, Samsung camera for all you people out there, or Google camera, is one of the better cameras that's available to all users. And all you have to do really is just open it up, point and shoot.
Right.
And that's the basic way to create video.
Oh, so that's what I pay you for, just to open it up and point and shoot.
That,
right. It's that easy, right?
It's that easy. So, you know, obviously it's a lot easier said than done.
Yeah.
Being on video is not for everybody. It's kind of hard sometimes.
So what are the challenges then? Like you know, it's not that easy. We know that.
Yeah.
Right? So like, what makes it hard?
Well, I think one of the things that makes it hard is the fact that now you do have all these tools available to you. Quote unquote, anybody can do it. So when you see things online, you may think that they're using a smartphone to shoot something or whatnot, but they're actually not. Or
they've got a smartphone with a crazy rig.
With a crazy rig, right? Yeah, and that can be challenging to kind of figure out who's doing what. Yeah. But I think the more challenging side of it is not the technical side. Actually, you could probably go hire like a 8th grader to come shoot your video and it'll probably look pretty good. But I think the more challenging part is talent on camera, shot composition, some of the more artistic side of it, writing a good story, having good delivery of lines, things like that.
Can you maybe talk a little bit about our like pre-production process? So the way I describe it to people who don't understand is you sort of have pre-production, you have production, and you have post.
Yep.
Right? And pre-production is like getting everything ready for like the day that you're going to shoot.
Yes.
Right? Because everyone's running around like doing all this shit, like where's this cable, where's that person, where's hair and makeup. And then post is like editing, coloring, and exporting the final delivery of the video. To me, and the way I've seen it, is that we're only successful in production and post if we've done pre-production really well. So what are some of the things that you think people should think about when it comes to pre-production?
So pre-production, and again, I think we're going to dive really deep into this on another episode, but pre-production to me normally involves, number one, what's the high-level concept of what we're trying to convey story-wise? What do you want to tell your audience, right? Yep. That's number one. Once you nail that down, things start to kind of fall in place.
Yep.
How to say it, your messaging, script writing, where are we going to shoot this thing? Do you have location to scout it out?
Yep.
Obviously, there's a lot of technical side to that. You know, is it available? Do we have to pay for it?
Yep.
You know, can we use my friend's, office or, whatnot?
So you actually spend as much time in pre-production as you would in...
I would say pre-production and post-production are the longest part.
Yep.
Filming the damn thing is probably the easier part of it, and obviously when we're talking about Hollywood budgets and things like that, things get a little bit overblown and it's a lot harder. And when you're doing really artistic stuff, it's a completely different story. But for what we do and what you need to be doing for your video marketing strategy, the production side of it actually doesn't have to be that painful if you've done your homework ahead of time with the pre-production. So if you plan out your shots, and you're going to shoot, room A, room B, room C. I'm going to get, 5 shots in each one of them. They're going to say these lines. When you nail those down, it becomes a lot easier day of, because you're not guessing. You're not trying to make things up on the fly. And if you don't pre-produce ahead of time really well and your production is sloppy, then the post-production process, it just bottlenecks there even more, right? So it almost magnifies all your mistakes. And being a former VFX worker, ninja, whatever you want to call it, we used to see that a lot. You know, they would say, "Oh, we'll just fix it in post," and that becomes a big problem. You know, it just bottlenecks, and then budget gets blown out.
Something has to, like,
something's got to give at some point, right? So the more you take in that first step of pre-production to get it right and kind of nail yourself to a schedule, it's almost, I mean, it's very similar to like how we would schedule out, you know, meetings or you know, things on the business side. If you don't take care of that scheduling and just nail dates down and hold people to them, then what happens is it just amplifies, you know, and then too much gets put on maybe on one person or whatnot. And it just becomes a tangled mess. And like I said, the post-production process can be a real nightmare if you are missing shots or something wasn't shot properly or something simple like somebody was out of focus and that was the only take you got, you know, things like that. It becomes a real nightmare later on. So
it sounds like we have a lot to talk about.
We do, we definitely have a lot to talk about.
The technical piece of
the technical stuff, the nuts and bolts of it. And again, going back to the opening part of that is based on your budget and your limitations, and you know, you're always going to be up against some type of limitation, whether it's time, budget, talent, or whatnot. There's always going to be some box to hold you in. And it's always that less is more type thing, right? You got to be able to do a lot more with less. So, so we'll definitely get into that. But let's talk about a big step that I think a lot of people miss, and that's strategy. Right. I mean, it's great. We have all the camera equipment. We have all, you know, everything lined up. But like, what are we going to do with this content? We just shot it. You know, like, where are we going to put it? What are we going to say about it?
And that's why you got to plan the strategy before you shoot it, right? It's like, I think you got to understand. So if you're a company, right, you're a B2B, maybe you're a B2C brand, you've got to establish like what's content takes a lot of time to produce. It doesn't matter if it's written content, video content, audio content. So you've got to say, okay, like what am I trying, what's the purpose of the content that I'm trying to produce? To me, like blog type content is really good to be like talking about like maybe short snippets of things or statistical type of stuff, right? But when you get to video, it really like it's about the strategy behind it, I think, is to put a face and a name, a face and a personality to a company.
Feeling is really what you want to do.
Company, right? So to me, when you start thinking about like a video strategy, some people are like, I just need to create a product, like a demo of how my product works. Cool, no problem. I think that's usually actually a pretty.
This is a great topic because this is a really common problem.
It's usually an okay like piece of content that, you know, someone can understand how your product works, but you know, maybe your video strategy should be more focused at the top of the funnel, to helping them maybe understand a little bit about the challenges that a customer may be facing, and you can now empathize with that person more on video about the challenge that your product or service solves. So maybe your first piece of content becomes a company like culture video or like who we are. We started Tobe Agency because we think there's a lot of bad marketing.
And I guess I want to go back to the ever old reference piece that we always use with Dollar Shave Club.
Sure.
If anybody knows us, we always talk about, and I'm sure on a million podcasts they broke this down, but that first video that they launched is exactly what you're talking about. You understood what their problem was, or what the problem they were identifying was, how they were going to solve it, and who was actually solving it, who's the person behind it, and how do you feel about that person? And you can identify with that.
So this literally just came to me even after we've talked about this video so many times. They literally built the entire sales funnel in a video. From problem down to here's the solution and here's how you purchase our solution.
Exactly.
It's literally the 3-step funnel from awareness to consideration to decision, all wrapped up in a video. So that was obviously a very masterfully done video. Hey, if they were actually thinking about the funnel through that video as they were concepting it, goddamn, that's
it's impressive.
That's pretty impressive.
It's impressive. I think I want to say maybe they weren't, but I do think that it was definitely they were aware of, you know, the objectives of.
We need to hit the challenge. We need to hit the potential solutions. It could be a Gillette razor blade.
Yep.
It could be whatever, right? And then here's our solution and why we're better.
Yeah.
So I think going back to strategy, it's like, what's the purpose of that video that you're going to create and invest time in, right? If you're going to spend some time in video, you should be doing something with video that you couldn't convey with another format of content, right? Yep. So you got to start thinking about, okay, if I'm doing video, what could I do on video that I couldn't do on blog?
Yeah.
That I couldn't do on audio? What should I
or
be
a
doing?
picture?
Right. Exactly. Right. So that to me is like when you pull the strategy back a little bit, like you try to understand like what am I trying to accomplish here?
Yeah. Definitely, and that's that goes into the goal section along with intent, and then a big thing is like. Part of that strategy is where are we going to put this video? And we talked about this at the opening. Right. There's 1,000,001 places to stick a video these days, but that doesn't mean anything if it's not touching the right audience.
Yep.
And especially if you're going to run ad traffic against it and you're really targeting a specific persona, then that intent and purpose really needs to be focused.
And here's the other thing. Does everyone know out there that you can actually now embed videos in emails? Right. So there's another.
We're going to go into that in another episode.
There's all kinds of different methods now to leverage video where you couldn't leverage it before.
Yeah.
Before you could not, and even today you still can't attach a video to an email.
Right.
But there was a little trick or a workaround that a company called Wistia figured out that allows people to actually embed video in email now. A super slick way to do it.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that.
We'll get into that in that particular podcast. Any closing thoughts?
No, man, I'm just excited to get, back on this. I hope that for everyone listening out there that you follow us through the different series. The way that we've kind of constructed this was really helping you dive down deeper into growth marketing, video, and I'm excited to see like the feedback here.
Yeah,
so,
same here.
If you do get value out of this, like we've always said, hit us up and let us know.
Yeah. I'm really excited about this particular series. This is the first time we've expanded across a topic on multiple episodes, which is cool. So I'm really excited about that. I'm also really excited about the interviews we have lined up. Really excited to get more into the sales side of it because I think that's a really, really underrated, soon to be hot point of video. Like you were just talking about email, that's only one thing about it.
So if you have an SDR team and you want them to convert better, talk to me.
There we go. Boom, pitch sold. That's going to be our ad that we're going to run against our podcast. So cool. This was a fun opening episode. Really looking forward to the following episodes, like I said. And as always, guys, if you are not familiar with us, you can find all of these notes and everything that we talked about in this podcast on our Tobe podcast page, and we'll leave a link in our socials for that. But you can read about this episode and find, of course, the video and the audio version. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, tell a friend about the Lights, Camera, Grow podcast. We would love to hear reactions and get some feedback on the episode. And I think that's it. And we'll see you on the next one.
See you, everyone.